Yo, Reuel, what's good, bro? I appreciate you taking out the time to catch up with this man and just give us some insight on your career as a producer. You know, some of the things that help you go and get to the next level as a producer, man. Especially in this space, man, where there's so much opportunity, for indie producers to kind of carve out a lane for themselves, man. So tell the people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you kind of got started in music, man, in the beginning.
Man, it all started from just a genuine passion for making beats, man. That's where it all really stems from. And
Hmm.
but you right 100%, man. Like from that, like it's so many avenues. Like if you're really passionate about it, like you can really like go anywhere you want, man. The knowledge is out there for aspiring producers. But my journey started back in 2009. I've been making
Wow.
beats for that long. So over a decade making beats, man.
Yeah.
I really started out on a terrible keyboard that you couldn't loop, so I just had to play everything over from the top every single time. Man, it was a Yamaha. I can't think of the name. Shout
Yeah.
out to Yamaha though. They definitely got some quality gear.
Yeah.
But I'm a content creator, man. That's I don't even like to put myself in a box, man. I really
Hmm.
like to just leave it open, man, because I like to think of myself as a mentor in a
Hmm.
sense. Not trying to overstand on anybody, of course, but just I've been in the game and I might know more than say your average producer just because I've been through the ringer, man. I've seen the ups and the downs, man. And
Right.
Airbit has been a great tool for me, especially you guys really helped me find a niche and it really gave me the tools to cater to it, man. So
So you started in 2009. Like, what was like your original, I guess, original goal? Because a lot of producers, they start out, they get into production, and they want to produce for major artists, right? So like, what was your motivation? What was your goal when you first started out?
what's funny is I don't think I had a goal, honestly. Like my goal was just to be as sweet as Timberland. Like I
Yeah.
remember seeing videos of man, there's a group people on YouTube named Misto and Pizzy and Ryan Leslie. You know,
Hmm.
they all used to have videos of them making beats. And my goal was just to be sweet like them, man. I used to sit down on the keyboard and you ever see like people like play basketball from the bench, like they think they sweet as LeBron and they get out there and they can't do a layup. That like
Right.
that's how I was. Like I in my mind, I was that sweet. But when I
Yeah.
got down onto the keyboard, it was just like trying to make that happen. And listening back to those beats, man, like they were really amateur sound. I'm not gonna say it was bad or trash, but they
Yeah.
was it's a tough listen for sure, man. But my goal going into it was really just to be sweet. Like I really just wanted to be a great producer.
What did you do in order to put yourself in the position to know that your beats were trash and then from there make improvements to get them up to, industry standard or quality? Like what was that process like for you?
Well, at the time, mind you, I'm like 9 or 10 years old. So
Okay.
I didn't know that they were trash. I honestly thought they were the sweetest beats ever. Like I used to
Right.
plan for everybody. And like now, like, hindsight is 2020. So now listening to them, it's kind of like, man, what was I thinking? Like taking a honest look at my music in comparison to what was on the radio or what other people like meeting producers that's way older than me that's really trying to make a lane in the music industry. Because mind you, my goal was never to be uh, a Billboard producer or top 10 or have my own subgroup of producers or nothing
Hmm.
like that. My goal was just to be a good producer. Like I just wanted to make sweet beats. So
Yeah.
just seeing other people that were sweeter than me made me realize like, oh, so I'm not sweet yet. Like there's a lot more room to grow. So
Yeah.
from that point on, it was such a slow process. Because when I first started beating, like the software, it was still hardware based.
Hmm.
Like people was making beats off of the motif and the phantom.
Yep.
And then they would track out to the MP and then from there they would lay it in Pro Tools or they would just patch it in. So
Right.
when I first started, man, it wasn't really like a heavy presence. Like I think it was like FL, one of the earliest versions of FL. Like it didn't look like the FL now. Like
Yeah.
I don't even make. I started off in FL, but that's not my main dog right now. I do use it, but
Okay.
back then, man, there wasn't a lot of information to learn. Like you didn't have access to what people have access to now. Like I feel like the learning curve but making beats is like this, you know, after so much time, once you get to the top, it's kind of like level out. But back then, man, it felt impossible to get like to make those big gains.
Yeah.
Like now you have producers sharing their entire drum kits, their entire preset bank.
Right.
Back then there was no preset bank. It was a
Nah.
keyboard sound like.
That's
So
it.
I didn't know like there were other tools and other sounds and stuff like that. So and it was really just a long process, like really long. Like
Yeah.
I would say that I finally like came into my own uh I'll say 2015, 2016. Mind you, I started in 2009. So
Yeah.
it's a super long process of trial and error, just
Yeah.
constantly failing. And you know, they say that video games are is a mechanism where you fail a whole lot. So it allows you to get really good a lot faster. But making beats and it's just you listening to them, it's kind of nowhere for you to test it out to like see if it's good or not. So
Yeah.
man, it was really just a long and drawn out process. I can't say at what specific point what I did differently. It just was years and
Yeah.
years and years of grinding it out.
Yeah, I think I mean I think that's important because a lot of people they just they want to get from point A to point B like immediately, right? Like I want to go from making trash beats to making super dope beats, but not taking this consideration the time that it takes to just get those reps in, you know what I mean? Like if you hit the gym day 1 and you work out hard, you're not going to see the results until you've been going to the gym consistently. And it's the same with production. Like it takes time. You have to make a bunch of beats and mix a bunch of beats to get that quality. So you just have to, kind of stay consistent and stick with it until, you start seeing results that you want to see at the end of the day. Man, so did you ever like, run into other producers who were kind of like further along to you to kind of show you some things, or were you just like figuring everything out on your own, like YouTube or, just Googling stuff? Like what was that like for you?
It was rare for me to run across somebody that make beats and for them to want to like actually show me what they did. Cause
Hmm.
the culture of like showing people what you do is kind of new.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at like classic or top 10 or like legendary producers, like they don't share the sauce. Like they don't give up the secrets, man. Like
Yeah.
they really hold them really close to themselves.
Yep.
But now there's a whole culture of like, no, you want to make a 4PF type beat. This is how you do it. You need this 808 and this type of melody and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like there's a lot of people that give back. But yeah, back then, man, it was a drought on the knowledge, man, on the information. Like you really had to, and plus, now as far as the music, I think it might have always been this way, but now I think there's a lot more saturation. There's a lot of people that sound the same.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of music that's a lot of copy paste, like just mimicking what's popular. But back then, it hasn't always been cool to sound like another artist or another producer. It
Yeah.
hasn't always been that way. So I was fortunate enough to be a part or to experience a time in the music game where it was cool to have unique drum sounds or unique melodies or your own style that doesn't sound like nobody else. Now, I think that's a lot more rare as far as mainstream hip hop. I'll say that.
Yeah. I'm from Ohio originally, Toledo. So Detroit is like right up 75 for us.
Yeah,
And
right there.
it was kind of the same thing, man. Like just growing up, starting out in production, it wasn't a whole lot of people you can go to talk to about this stuff and to show you stuff. Everybody, like anybody who was involved in music in some way, shape, or form, like we were all trying to figure it out, like at the same time. So, yeah, I get that. So, are you still in Detroit? Did you stay in Detroit, like as you were growing in your career, or did you relocate to kind of be around more of a music industry or music scene in a different city?
Yeah, when I first jumped out there, man, I ended up traveling to Atlanta
Okay.
and trying to build a network out there. And it was a pretty fruitful experience because I ended up getting some placements and doing stuff like that. I ended up working a lot out of Mean Streets.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
in
Been
Atlanta.
there.
I remember going out to LA once or twice, and I went to Paramount Studios, just linking up with people from here that had connects out there.
Mm,
When that was a really cool experience for me.
yeah.
Um, but I'm based out of Detroit now. My
Okay.
advice to any aspiring producers would be to build something where you're at right now.
Hmm.
I think in most instances, when you look at legendary acts as far as producing, like they built a network from where they were.
That's true.
Like if you look, for instance, Metro or Southside in Atlanta, or
Hmm.
Mustard with Ty Dolla $ign in LA,
Yep.
or any New York producers, virtually like they kind of stick where they used to be that way. They used to stick, in there. It's really regional.
Hmm.
So if my advice to be would be to, instead of going somewhere else and trying to tap in there, like to really like buckle down and build something in your own neighborhood. I think
Yeah.
that would be my advice.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like again, we have the internet. You know what I mean? So it seems like you can reach so many people, man, just using the internet. You don't necessarily like have to just pick up and move to a LA or to a ATL or New York these days. You can kind of build what you want to build right there, and then still get people all over the country, all over the world to still hear your music, which is a great segue into you getting started selling beats online and leasing beats online. Like how did you learn about that, and what made you kind of want to go that direction, and build from there?
I had just moved back to Atlanta, man. I was sleeping on the floor on an air mattress, man. There was roaches around the crib.
Oh man.
But I was so driven, like I'm the type of person, like my mind is kind of strong. Like that's kind of stuff don't bother me really.
Yeah.
The only thing that bothered me about that time was like my diet. Like I was eating like ramen noodles for breakfast, and that was like the only meal for the
Hey,
day.
bro, we was on
So
the same diet when we started. Air mattress
man,
and all.
man, that was a crazy time, like looking back. But I was staying in Atlanta, and I have a friend. He used to be a lot more active. I think now he's more like placement driven. But his name on Airbit is Drum Dummy. He used to stay way out, man, in the outskirts of Georgia. And we have a mutual friend named Joseph McFashion. He's a pretty popular guy out here, man. He has his own label and stuff like that. But
Okay.
he was tapped in with drum, and so I ended up driving out there and meeting him. And he's huge. He's huge on YouTube at the time. Like this is the first producer that I had ever met that was
Wow.
really big and making a living off of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And the platform that he was using to sell beats was Airbit.
Mm-hmm.
So I at the time I had been familiar, like I've heard of SoundClick and just
Yeah.
stuff like that online. People sell their beats. I remember going on there when Soldier Boy was popping and listening to Soldier Boy type beats. Like I feel like that was the height, like when Roscoe Dash and all of those kind of rappers were popular. That was the height of SoundClick, I believe. And that was when I first learned about selling beats online. But I ended up meeting Tevin, Drum Dummy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what he was doing, man. He was posting every day, and he was just making a killing. Like he had his life together, man. It was amazing to see that. It's like this is actually doable. Like
Right.
this is possible. And so at the time, I had recently read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Oh, that's a good
and
one.
they talk about entrepreneurship and finding a niche and catering to a niche.
Mm-hmm.
And that's similar to what he did, but I think in my case, I knew that there was nothing specifically what I do. I do Detroit type beats online. So
Okay.
at the time, there was no Detroit type beats online.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew people here in Michigan and Detroit, they only listen to Michigan artists.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that there was an audience for it. I didn't know how big it was.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was gonna fail or not, but all I know is like it was possible.
Yeah.
So that's what really drew me to Airbit. So I started off with the basic, the regular. So it's 10. The story you can only, I think at the time you can only have a certain amount of beats on there, and
Mm-hmm.
I would just post every day, YouTube Airbit, every single day without fail
Wow.
because I learned from Jake Paul. He had that song "Every Day, Bro," because he used to post content every day. So I looked at all the top streamers on YouTube or the top two YouTube personalities,
Yeah.
and I just followed their blueprint, man. I would get active on there, and then I would get on Airbit and see what the top producers on Airbit was doing. Man, I remember looking at that list like, dang, like at the time, Tevin was like the top producer. So I'm like, dang, like I'm so far away.
Right.
I remember like I used to check it all the time, man. I remember the first time I was like the 29th producer on Airbit. I was so excited. I was like, yeah, I'm getting up there with you, bro. Like, look. He
Exactly.
was like, yeah, your time coming soon. But man, I really just, man, it was a grind because my first YouTube channel got deleted, man. It was
Really.
crazy. Yeah, there's another artist named Reuel,
Okay.
and I guess he trademarked Reuel. So anytime somebody used Reuel, like,
Oh, he take them down.
yeah, it's copyright infringement. And I was like, this is crazy because this is my name too. Like, how can you just
Yeah.
do that?
My
So
mama gave me this name, bro.
yes,
You know?
I was. That's I would try to like I would try to like I would try to appeal all the cases, man, but it didn't, it never worked out. But luckily, man, I just stayed with it. And luckily, because of Airbit, I was able to have at least some type of cushion. Like I wasn't making $0 a month. Like it was at least I was at least making one sale. So,
Right.
mind you, at the time I'm on an air mattress.
Yeah.
So it's like Airbit really helped me in a tough spot, man, because if it hadn't been for that, who knows what I'll be doing right now? Like none of this would be possible.
Wow.
So
So,
yeah, man.
so you were, and this kind of goes into, some marketing strategies. You were pushing a lot of traffic from your YouTube channel. Is that's how you were getting a lot of your beat sales in?
Yeah, I would say YouTube is the main driver of traffic to Airbit for me. That and it's YouTube and Google and then Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on Google and Facebook because I don't use those platforms as much as I do YouTube. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, YouTube is definitely pivotal
Yeah.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think other Airbit producers could really benefit from. I know I focus on YouTube, and from there, because YouTube, I mean, Airbit offers tools to monetize your YouTube. Like
Exactly.
monetizing your YouTube isn't always easy to start off doing. Like you got to get a million watch time hours and 1,000 subscribers. It might have changed it, but that was way back then. But I
Yeah.
know it was really tough for me getting started, man. It's easier once it gets going and you got a regular flow. People know what to expect. But just starting off, man,
Yeah.
Airbit has tools to where you can start making money sooner. It
Yeah.
might not be like a crazy amount of money, but it's enough to, I think, to inspire you to keep going.
Right.
So that's I'm really glad that you guys added that feature. It's more recent, but
Yeah.
I definitely think it's a net positive, man, for the producer community. It really allows starting producers. I wish they had that tool when I first started,
Mm-hmm.
because if had not been monetizing my channel, I don't think I would have gotten taken down,
Yeah.
and it would have been through Airbit. So it would have been a win-win, man. It would have been awesome. But I'm
Yep.
so glad that you guys have that tool because YouTube is my main driving force to send people to Airbit.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Like the dope thing about YouTube is like once you put it on there, bro, like it lives on there like forever. Like as long as YouTube's up, like your stuff is on there, so it can just continue to keep driving traffic. And then when people see, your new beats on YouTube, then they just go and binge on some of the older stuff. So it can definitely have a compounding effect, man, on driving sales and traffic and things like that. You mentioned something earlier, bro, that was a gem and a cheat code. Honestly, was that when you started, man, you were on Airbit looking at what the top producers were doing, and I think that's super super crucial because I always believe in order to be successful, you have to first figure out like what works, right? And doing that, like exactly what you did, you're studying what already works. Like you're not trying to reinvent the wheel or come up with some new genius way, to be successful selling beats online. Like you seen what the other successful producers were doing, what the top producers on Airbit were doing, uploading every day, being consistent every single day, and that's how you were able to build the career that you have now. So I think that's super duper dope, man. So yeah, shouts out to you, man, for hopping on that immediately. Soon as
Yeah.
you heard about Airbit, it was just like, yo, like What are the top dogs doing, you know?
Yeah, that's the key, man. You got to aim for the stars, and if you fall short, then you land on the moon. That's what they
Facts.
say.
Yep.
So it's that, and another key to it is having enough confidence to know that you can compete at that
Yeah.
level.
Yep.
Because hadn't it been for me thinking that I was capable to compete with at that level, I wouldn't have never looked to them. I would have looked to somebody that's a little bit more commonplace or just as cool with the average. I've never been that kind of person. Like I feel like I can compete with whatever and whoever in whatever arena.
Yeah.
So that's another thing, man. You always wanna, you wanna go for the top, man.
Yep.
Because I'm the type of person that I can't leave any stone unturned. I gotta leave it all out there, man. I can't sleep at night,
Yeah.
I left something out there, man. I gotta go hard as I can. So if it don't work, I know that I tried.
Exactly. Yep.
That's a key for me.
Yeah. So that's what's up, man. So aside from YouTube, like, are there any other things that you do now, or maybe have implemented in your production business, in recent years, to continue to build your fan base and market music to the artists who support you?
Yeah, I think a big tool for me, I think the biggest tool is networking.
Okay.
Networking gets you places that hard work can't. That's what
Hmm.
I believe that. And I think that's the biggest that was the biggest thing for me. And I'm still working on networking because
Okay.
I'm trying to focus on I'm trying to like have this kind of duality where I can do the area in the YouTube and still be placement driven. Like I went gold 3 times this year.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like it's possible. So
Yeah.
that's my whole thing. I just want people to know like you don't have to put yourself in a box necessarily.
Yeah.
So I think
Congrats on that too.
thank you, man. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying like
Nah.
just
Hey,
purely
that's
inspirational, man. Like if I could do it, you guys can do it too. But it's
yeah.
definitely I think uh outside of networking and marketing, man. Marketing is a big key that most producers don't pay attention to.
Yep.
You gotta market yourself. Like artists spend hundreds on an outfit, hundreds on a video, hundreds on a beat, maybe thousands even.
Yep.
They to get it mixed and master. As a producer, I think we think our job stops just at making a beat.
Exactly.
I think you selling yourself short. I think that most producers think that I don't know, like there's some kind of glass ceiling for producers. I don't believe that
Yep.
because if you take a look at DJ Mustard, he might not necessarily. I'm not sure if he's a beat maker anymore, but he's transformed the lives of so many people, and
Right.
he's definitely broken the mold of what your standard producer, I think, is. And I think that's what people should strive towards, man, is you definitely got to market yourself to be like bigger than just a beat maker.
Right.
So I would say I definitely put a lot into marketing myself as more than just like if you want something that's gonna change your life, like come to me, like I can do that for you. Like that's what I try to put myself out there as. And I think um beyond everything, man, you got to just really take the time to get better.
Hmm.
And when it comes to good product is gonna sell itself.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest tool is time is your most valuable asset.
Yeah.
You gotta allot enough time to allow yourself to get better, to
Hmm.
put yourself out there, to market yourself. So
Right.
it's kind of like it's like a cycle that perpetuates itself, man. The more you put in, the more you can network, the more opportunities come.
Hmm.
So I think those are my biggest tools is marketing and networking outside of just Airbit and YouTube, man. I think those are the biggest keys to
Yeah.
longevity.
Yeah, man. Marketing is huge. Like if you look at all the major corporations out there, bro, like everybody has a marketing department, like an entire department focused on marketing. So as a producer, we would be foolish to think that we don't need that. Like we can skip over that. It's like, nah, like you have to do we got to play like big corporations, you know what I mean? Like if you want to grow a business and a brand that's successful, you got to think like, like a big brand, a big corporation. That's dope, man. So, what would you say is like in the marketing lane, some of like your top two? marketing strategies? You know, do you use a combination of, you know, social media ads, you know, posting content? Like what's your approach when it comes to marketing yourself as a producer?
Well, I think maybe a better question would be like, what can everybody do? Like, I
Okay.
think some tools that's like not even specific to me. I think something that everybody could do is the first thing you got to do is know your audience, man. You got to know who are you trying to sell beats to, or if you're not even trying to sell beats, it's what if you're selling up any product, like who is your target audience?
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me that I like to focus on the youth and specifically people in my area because I
Okay.
know what they might be looking for.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest tool for me in reaching them is social media,
Okay.
whether it be Google ads or Facebook ads or just any platform. I know Airbit offers promotion too.
Yep.
So I think, the key is just knowing what people are going to be receptive to
Mm-hmm.
and then pushing it and using it as any tool that you got at your disposal.
Yep.
For me, it's really I'm really heavy on the Instagram marketing.
Okay.
And I think outside of social media, uh, you know, people want to see that you're successful. It's kind of weird, but like people gravitate to things that they already know work.
Yeah.
Like when you go into the grocery store, you're gonna go for what you know and what people like. Like people not going into the grocery store getting an off-brand bag of chips before they get in the Lay's or
That's true.
Doritos. They go into the brands that they see that are marketed, that are popular. So
Yeah.
you gotta do something to make yourself appealing. I
Yep.
think that producers really a lot of times as a producer, there's a stereotype that producers are cooped up in a dark room, sweating, making beats by themselves.
Sweating, making beats. Right.
So I think that for most of them, it's not even a thought like that I need to market myself. Like I said earlier, they think it ends with just making a beat.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the most valuable tool is knowing, or the most valuable thing to me when it comes to marketing is knowing that you can reach more people. There's people that haven't heard of you before.
Man, millions.
There's millions and billions of people in the world. So
Yep.
I think that the first step is knowing who you're trying to market to, and then figuring out what are your tools to reaching that audience and what's the most feasible for you, but is the most effective.
Yeah.
It's like you got to find that balance between those two things, and
Yeah.
I think once you figure that out, then you can really start to lay the groundwork for reaching them.
Yeah. That's dope, man. So how did you, you know, speaking of social media and you mentioned Instagram being a big one for you, did you ever go through like a period where you was just like, you know, let me see which one is better, Facebook, Instagram, you know, Twitter, or was it just like you just started seeing a lot of traction on a certain platform and then you just kept focusing on that, or was it like where you did you ever do kind of like this trial and error and testing period of, you know, seeing which social media platform was best for you?
Um, so growing up in high school, you kind of like gravitate to what's the new hot thing. So I think it was just more so that, and then me making beats kind of came second because that was my personality. Like that's what I do.
Hmm.
So I think at the time, like growing up, Twitter was popular, and then it turned into Instagram. Well, first it was Facebook.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Facebook came first. When I got to Facebook came out.
I know
I
I
think
was kind of
Facebook came out when
after
I
you.
was like in my freshman year, eighth grade year.
Okay.
So yeah, man, Facebook was popping, man, and then turned into Twitter, and then I turned into Instagram, and then it was Twitter and Instagram. But mind you, I told you that my YouTube got deleted by the other. I'm not gonna say they deleted it. I'm gonna just say my YouTube got taken down.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with my Twitter and Instagram.
Oh
So
dang.
it was never really a trial and error thing, more so it's just I just started over and I just pick one.
Okay. Did they take those down for the same reason? Or was
Yeah,
this just wow. Dang, that's crazy, bro.
yeah.
Wow. Wait, hey, but man, that shows the resilience that you had. Like, yo, like I'm not gonna give up, bro. Like, no matter what happens, we could take the social media down. I'm gonna just start another one.
It was never even a thought. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's never that I thought like giving up isn't an option. I just never thought about giving up. It's
Exactly.
kind of weird, man. It's never popped in my head like that. I could just stop making
Yeah.
beats. I could stop making beats. So I just got to figure
Yeah.
out what's gonna make me the most money. So
Yeah. Yep. And that's the mindset it takes, man. Like it's a guy that I listen to a lot, Nehemiah Davis, man. He always says like it has to work or it has to work. Like that's it. Those are the only two options, which is really only one option. So I feel that, man. So what would you say are some of, I don't know, what are some of the top mistakes that, or some regrets that you might have had coming up, or some things that you wish you would have did a little bit differently, to get to where you are a little bit faster, maybe.
a regret. Well, I'm gonna just start it off saying this. Like I don't regret it necessarily because I ended up here and I like where I'm at. I'm not saying that maybe a different outcome would have been different or bigger or better or I like where I am now, so I'm not gonna say that it's a regret, but a mistake. I think it's kind of a weird choice of words. I'm not sure how to phrase it, but a mistake that I made was moving in desperation, man. Like when money dries up, like people start to get frantic and wild, man. And you do things that you wouldn't normally do in your right mind. So, coming up, like I remember I signed away. I signed a publishing deal with this local guy for like $10,000, man.
Okay.
Worst mistake I could have ever made.
Man.
Cause there's a few different kinds of publishing deals, but when you sign that kind of deal was for 100% songs.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you know how publishing works, you rarely get, 50% on the publishing side.
Right.
I mean, you can negotiate for more, but let's say I get 10% on a song. I would have to do 10 songs to equate to
100%
one
song.
100% song to
Yeah.
fulfill part of the agreement. And I had to do that 4 times.
Sheesh.
So I did that for $10,000, man. And it was a terrible situation, man. It escalated into something that it just wasn't good, man. It was toxic,
Yeah.
really, man. And that's something that I would tell producers is get a lawyer
Mm-hmm.
and don't be so desperate. If you're gonna make money, man, just try to, I would say, get a job. Like,
Mm-hmm.
'cause if anything was better than that situation, man, like
Yeah.
I really
Cause,
felt like, hmm,
cause you can't make any more money until you recoup that 10,000, right? From those records that you produce under that agreement.
well, the 10,000 is an advance.
Yeah.
So it's not even that till I recruit the 10,000, it's till I fulfill the agreement. If they own my
Oh,
publishing, like they own,
they getting it anyway.
yeah,
They
they
own
getting
it.
the advance, all that kind of stuff for till I fulfill the agreement. So yeah, just that was a really big mistake for me.
Yeah.
Another big mistake for me was bad management.
Hmm.
So when I first started out, man, like my first manager is the guy that put me in this situation,
Okay.
and I went from bad to worse. So it's after him, I met somebody else, and I had produced. I used to be an artist, and I made a song called "Whip It Like This." Ended up going viral.
Okay.
Did like a million streams in 2 months. It was going crazy, but it ended up getting taken down because at the same time, that's when the other Reuel became aware of me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying like, man, you need to pay me $1 million to get the copyright to your name. And I'm like, I don't have, I don't have, I don't have that. Like, what do you? He's like, put me in touch with your label. I'm like, there is no label. Like, it's just me.
Wow.
So I had that was when I had first went to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And I had went there with my second manager, and she was taking meetings with labels. I kind of never really heard nothing back. Like we would go to the studio where they'll bring out an A&R or a liaison, just somebody from the departments to talk to me and try to bring me in and see what was going on. And
Yeah.
I never heard about it. Man, I eventually just got like fed up. Like, listen, like you take my opportunities and using them to bolster your own career. Like,
Yeah.
so it was just it's a crazy situation, man. So another lesson that I learned is don't look for management.
Mm-hmm.
Let management find you. Let good management. What separates a good manager from a great manager is a good manager will manage the opportunities that you get. A great manager will get you opportunities that you're not supposed to have.
That's a fact. That's good.
So that would be my second piece of advice is don't sign nothing without your lawyer looking at it. It's from the first lesson, but more importantly, man, like be independent minded, man, because depending on others, because at the time I don't think I even needed that. Like I
Yeah.
just really needed to be able to learn on my own. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, if you try to shortcut the learning process, that you're gonna find yourself in a very bad place, man. Because the music game is very tricky sometimes. So you gotta
Yeah.
be careful. So
I feel like producers kind of jump the gun with, trying to find a manager just because it sounds good. Like, oh, talk to my manager. You know what I mean? Or like, or do they think the manager's gonna come in and just change their life and give them all these opportunities when they haven't even started to build anything to even manage? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I, what do you, like? What's your take on that? Like,
that's
well, I guess you kind of already said it. Just kind of wait, let them find you, but more so just focus on building and becoming the best producer that you can become.
yeah. I think the biggest question that you should always ask yourself is why. Like, why do I need this? Like
Hmm.
a lot of times, people go to the studio and they might be working on a session and they'll do something because they think they're supposed to do it. Like they're supposed to not put effects on this particular channel, where people do a lot of stuff thinking that they're supposed to do it. They don't
Yeah.
really answer the question like, why should I do this? I think
Hmm.
the purpose is just as important. So I think, producers doing stuff just because they think that they have to, or that that's the only way to do something is I think that's something that you gotta break yourself out of that thinking, man, because
Yeah.
it's dangerous, man, doing stuff because you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to have a manager. You're supposed to sign. You don't
Yeah.
have to do any of that, and you can be successful. And I think there's countless examples, but you
Hmm.
don't know what you don't know. So
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think the biggest thing is, man, just always looking for more information and always be trying to learn, and
Hmm.
don't try to take no shortcuts, man. Like it's not gonna be easy. Like nobody said it's supposed to be easy. Like most businesses fail in the first year, and if they don't fail the first year, they fail in the first 5 years.
Exactly.
So, man, the thing is, you just gotta be willing to bounce back, man. You gotta adjust. Like I couldn't be an artist, so I fully switched lanes. Like I'm full producer now.
Yeah.
If this don't work, then I gotta switch again. I was full something else. Like you gotta be able
Yeah.
to keep pushing, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, shoot, learning how to pivot on the fly, bro. I feel like that's like entrepreneurship 101, bro. Cause, and I think COVID showed a lot of people that, man. Like a lot of it put a lot of people in different situations where they had to figure stuff out real quick. It put businesses in situations where, they had to pivot and come up with different models, man, just to to stay afloat. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that, man, 100%. You mentioned earlier, man, on the Gold Records, man. Congrats again on that. Like,
Thank
how
you.
did those situations come about, man? Was that like a natural progression from, just building the influence online and things like that? Like, how did those situations happen for you?
Well, all of my plaques came from networking. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah,
Like I haven't got a plaque from like YouTube or anything like that. Most of it comes from like personal relationships,
yeah,
working with other producers and collaborating. Like I
yeah.
think the collaborative process is a big thing for me when it comes to making great records, because you
Hmm.
get to bounce ideas, and you could complement one another's strengths and weaknesses. So
Yep.
you just come up with the best record possible. A lot of times, sometimes it's counterproductive. So I can't say every time,
Yeah.
but you know, yeah, man, going gold for me, man, is really just a product of networking, like traveling to Atlanta,
Hmm.
having producers come up and meet me in Atlanta that are
Hmm.
out there. Like it's really a melting pot.
Yeah.
So you run across YouTube producers or old school producers or newer producers that's got their foot in the door, people just trying to get their foot in the door. It's just a lot of it's a bubbling scene and it's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
So you bound to come across somebody that's got some real talent. And I think that's how I ended up with these plaques. That and just grinding hard, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, man, when I was in Atlanta, I was sleeping on the air mattress, man. I had like negative money in my account. Like
Yeah.
it was, I had let go of all the stuff that I was doing. I was just strictly like focused on the music. Like
Yeah.
this is what I'm gonna do. Like
Yep.
this is what I'm passionate about. So
Man.
yeah, man, that was the biggest thing for me getting the plaques is networking. I can say that all of my plaques have come from networking.
Networking and relationships, man. Like
Mhm.
that's crucial, dude, because people number one thing I've learned is that like people like working with people that they like, right? And that are easy to work with. But like when situations come up, man, like to be that person that's top of mind, like somebody that somebody knows, like, oh, like I my guy, man, like I know he can do that. And they'll pull you in, man. And then when you're like you said, you never stop grinding. So like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and continue to work on your craft. So when that opportunity comes and that relationship reaches out, it just makes sense, and then everything kind of comes full circle, and then you end up with gold plaques, man. So that's fire, man. That's super inspiring. I think a lot of producers, will be able to look at your story, man, and take it as inspiration and even some guidance, man, to get them to the next level, depending on where they are. So that's super dope, man. Man, so like, what's next, man? Like, what's next for you? Where do you see yourself, like, in the next 5, 10 years? Like, what else is on your list to accomplish as a producer, or just as
Man,
as an entrepreneur in general?
so much stuff that I want to do, man. It's kind of like you got too many options. You don't know where to take it, man. I think one of my biggest goals is setting up something here, like a place, like maybe not even necessarily a studio, but just building some type of infrastructure here. So
Mm-hmm.
people here have an opportunity to make connections with like majors or distribution or marketing or anything like that. Cause I don't think there are any tools like that available. I,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'll say any, but I think the tools available aren't the most conducive to a lengthy career. I think a lot of opportunities in Michigan, like they come with a lot of strings attached, and you might
Mm-hmm.
not be dealing with the quality of people that you would otherwise in a more in a city with a bigger scene as far as music. So I
Yeah.
think that's a big goal for me is building a platform here uh so that aspiring artists and creatives have an outlet and can get heard by some people that can really change their lives. And
Yeah.
another thing, man, for me is, man, I want to get like I'm trying to pattern myself after those that I think that are popular, and I think Mustard is my go-to producer just because like he's put out records, he's produced them from start to finish, and they've been his.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that that's the next barrier for me, man. I wanna do something like that, man. I really want to build something great because I'm in it for the long run, man. So
Yeah.
I can't just you can't get stagnant, man. You got to keep working. So I
Yeah.
think in the next few years, man, that's where I'm trying to take it, man. I'm trying to make it big as possible. I'm trying to grow my brand and help people grow theirs too.
Yeah, that's super dope, man. And a great way to kind of give back too to the producers coming up and the artists coming up. That's super dope, man. So any advice, man, for a producer who may be starting out and just trying to figure out how to get started, which direction to go? You know what I mean? What would your advice be for that producer?
Man, if you're looking for a direction, I would say I think in business, the most successful business ideas solve a really crucial problem,
Mm,
like how Uber solved traveling. Like not everybody was gonna call a taxi, and they're not available everywhere, so they got ride sharing services. So
mm,
I think the if you're trying to figure out where to go, figure out like, well, what do you want to hear, or what is somebody that you respect their opinion want to hear? Like you got to figure out what exactly well, figuring that out is the question. So I think just look for like people around, like what do they want to listen to, like,
mm-hmm.
or make what you like. I think those are really the two options that you have. Because anything outside of that, I think it might be hard for a producer to do just because it's not like an authentic something that you want to do. Like I think it would be hard for me to just go and start making a genre of music that I've never listened to,
Yeah.
that I don't really like as much as what I'm doing now.
Right.
So I think that would be my biggest advice for a starting producer. And another thing now, man, there's so much information out there. Like
It
I think
is.
it's easier from when I first started, like back in 2009. Like I think back then it was if we rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's hard to be a 10. It's easy to be a 3. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's kind of easy to be a 7, and it's a lot harder to be a 10. Like it's easy to be average because a lot of the sounds are being passed around. Nowadays, you're more susceptible to doing what everybody else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, depending on what your goal is. But
Right.
I really think you should just fine tune it to what you like and what you want to listen to, or what those people around you that you like, if you respect their opinion, and try to figure out what it is that they like to listen to. That would be my biggest advice for a producer trying to find next time.
Yeah, dope. So be authentic, stay true to what you like, what you do, and then at the same time solve a problem. You know what I mean? Figure out what people want, what people need, and supply that to them. Super dope advice, man. Um, well, listen, bro, man. Like I appreciate you taking the time, and I won't hold you. I know you're a busy guy. You got more dope records to produce, man. So I'm gonna let you go. But man, tell the people where they can find you, man, where they can follow you, check out some of your music. Let them know, bro.
Yeah, man. Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel, Reuel Stop Playing. Reuel Stop Playing across all social media, man. I really appreciate you guys for bringing me on, man. It's great to give back, man, what I can. So I
Absolutely.
really enjoyed it.
Indeed, man. Well, thanks again, and man, we'll definitely make sure we stay tuned in, man. Much success, bro.